Yay!
Okay, we're back. This is Becki Newton.
And this is Michael Urie.
And you're listening to Still Ugly. This is episode 2.
Episode 2. We've been at this a long time.
We're pros.
Yep.
Honestly, we're pros.
Yes, we are.
Make sure you like, subscribe.
Yes.
Check us out on YouTube. You can watch on YouTube and you'll see how cute Becki looks and our cute little set.
Yeah, and please keep watching so we can do a third episode and a fourth and a fifth. Please. I hope people watch.
It's really fun to do this. It's
fun,
so good.
even if only you and I watch.
Honestly,
it's worth it.
It's worth it.
On today's episode, Betty's super lame stuffed bunny goes mysteriously missing and shows up in some dangerous situations.
Not only that, but Betty takes the proofs for the entire magazine home with her and gets them stolen like the amateur that she is.
Unfortunately, the actress in the featured spread decides she is actually totally okay with unretouched photos of herself being plastered all over town.
And everyone learns an important lesson about telling the truth, even if it might cost you your job. Well, everyone except Wilhelmina. It's so wild to revisit this.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to look at the first few episodes because they were so vivid and they're still so vivid to me because our lives were it was I'd never felt so alive before. And doing these shows and we did the pilot and then we knew that it might not get picked up. So we just sort of walked away from it.
I didn't even know what a pilot was. All this talk of pilots and when they get picked up, I knew nothing. I didn't know about TV and how it all worked. And one little fun fact?
Yeah.
We did the pilot in New York, but then remember when it got picked up, they said, you are all moving to LA.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Huge.
We were okay, you just...
And I remember thinking that would never happen because Vanessa had some deal. Vanessa was oh, I won't do it in LA. And I was oh, great. So if this gets picked up, it'll be a TV show.
But also, it was a New York-based show. So I don't think I never considered what getting picked up meant, but B, that it would get picked up and then relocate.
You know what they must have paid her?
To move?
I mean...
We should find out.
When she's on, we'll ask her. What did they do? She won't remember. That's
she'll remember.
You think
Vanessa
she'll remember that?
remembers everything.
Well, that's what's it was such a vivid time for us, and I think less vivid for others. For Vanessa, she'd done 1 million pilots.
Yeah.
And she'd had to, I'd never had a deal. I didn't even have a deal for this.
That's true.
I was a guest star. I mean, I'm still credited as a guest star.
That I don't know if people know this. I mean, I know you've told the story, but that Michael originally was a guest star. You weren't even supposed to be in the second episode.
No, Marc, the character of Marc, the assistant to Wilhelmina was going to change every episode. She couldn't keep an assistant.
And Daniel was supposed to have a different girlfriend every episode. So I was his girlfriend in the beginning. And remember the plot line I guess it was right in the beginning, he kept sleeping with his assistants.
Yes.
And then they get fired.
Right. That's why Bradford.
How did we hang on? How did we get so lucky that we had these parts, that we found each other.
Being amazing, that's how.
That's true.
Amazing.
No, but yeah.
Well, and also, for me, Vanessa absolutely made my contribution possible because I had this silly idea. I was in a few scenes. We were both in a few scenes in the pilot. You had a bigger part. You had a bigger part in the pilot than I did because you were in 2 storylines. But
right,
I was
it was
just
the Daniel and at work.
I was just her toady, her little lackey. And so I was always...
that's really offensive to toads. I'm just saying. Okay, keep going.
You're right. We should flag that. I want to apologize to toads and frogs. All amphibians. But she was supposed to have... So I was always by her side, kind of over her shoulder, and that's how they always blocked me. And I had this, I was just trying anything, and I thought it would be funny if I physically mimicked her. And when she sat, when we sat,
you see it. Everything she did.
I did everything she did,
good.
But she didn't know because I was behind her, basically.
But what I love about Vanessa is that anything that makes a scene better, whether or not it's about her, she's do it.
Somebody ratted me out.
What?
Somebody on the crew told her, they were hey, you know what that queen's doing behind you? And she came over to me and she's hey, I hear you're doing me behind me. And I was what? This is it. I'm fired. This was fun, but this is over. And then
really?
And then she goes, I said, yeah, I am. I hope that's okay. And she goes, yeah, what else can I do that you can do? And so suddenly,
I didn't know someone who tells on someone. Like, how old are we? But okay.
Didn't
like,
somebody
okay.
on the crew that didn't.
I want to know who that was. But
I don't even know. I don't know who it was. And it was it was the pilot crew, so they weren't part of.
I just want you to know that person's copying you. I feel like that only happens in first grade.
It was it was the first grade.
Wow.
It was
well, thank God you did, and thank God she's so game.
And so then suddenly I'm pitching her ideas for her to do that I can do. And then she's saying, if you stand closer, you'll be in the shot. I didn't know where the cameras were.
We were so funny. We're like...
So then, and then by the end of the pilot shoot, they called me in an extra day to do the cast photo. And I had no idea.
And now here we are.
And I got paid, co-star money.
$5.
Yeah, I was a co-star, not even a guest star. In the pilot episode, my name appears at the end of the episode, not at the beginning with the guest stars. Isn't that crazy?
Amazing.
It's a really good episode.
It's so good.
And do you remember? I remember because my memory from this time is so vivid. We actually shot episode 2 after episode 3. So when we started, so we shot the pilot in like March of
2025, 26, or 25.
2026, no, 2006.
We're so dumb. We can't count. Sorry. Wait, we shot this pilot in
2006. In pilot season, back when that was
February, and then it got picked up, and then in the fall we started airing.
We were yes, right, and we were shooting these episodes by like July.
So
August.
This wasn't the second one we shot. This was like the third or fourth one we shot.
Technically, this was the third episode we shot, and we shot episode 3 that we'll talk about on the on our next episode.
Which, by the way, to the audience, no one ever knows these things, but to the actors, it's always a little weird to shoot things out of order because, in theory. Although at that point, our characters were really just scheming full time. Like there wasn't really too much sequence going on to what we were doing, but it is interesting to just know that wasn't like the first day after the pilot got picked up that we were shooting. Okay, what even happened? So Betty, I love this. She comes in and she puts all her things all over her desk. And they just kept on, it was like when Mary Poppins has she had like a little turtle. She had all her little things she brought from home to move into that desk.
And of course the bunny with the graduation cap.
She brought in her bunny that she got for graduation. I think, what did you say when you walked up to her desk?
Great bunny.
Great bunny.
Great bunny. And then she said,
great bunny.
And then she said something about, it was a graduation gift when she graduated from Queens College or something like that.
Oh, and you say you got a big bang for your buck or something. You basically insult her bunny, insult the college with a big smile on your face the whole time.
One of America's best value colleges was the line. And I remember this was when America and I, this was our first scene.
Oh yeah.
Really to play and together. And it was the first scene of the episode. I was so excited. And we had, this was the beginning of all of us having the dumbest ideas.
Oh, yeah. We were full of very dumb ideas.
And sometimes they would end up in the show.
Right.
Often. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they wouldn't. And the dumb idea that I remember from that scene was that America and I decided that one of America's best value it was like, how do I know it's called one of America's best value colleges? Maybe there was a commercial that was like a jingle that we all knew. And we
Did you sing one?
We sang one of America's best value colleges, and we sang it together.
Because the idea is that there was a commercial. I'm getting into your brain right now.
Exactly.
That Marc saw on some channel.
That's how we knew it.
A jingle for America's best value colleges, and you both knew it and sang it at the same time.
Yes.
And that got cut out.
And that got cut out.
But wow. But how cool is that that was happening?
We were all, even
ideas.
We were just buzzing and what's funnier here? What can we do here that's weird and
at what
different?
point did producers and writers go like this? How early were they like, oh God. No, I mean.
I remember that being like, the director.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
We got it.
The director would be like, okay, well, we tried that. Let's do it without.
Great. One for you, one for me.
Exactly. But this director, Cherie Folkson, was very good.
Yes, she was very good.
She was really, really good.
Yes.
And I did a movie with her later, actually.
Did you really? What movie?
The Decoy Bride. She hired me for a movie called The Decoy Bride. I
haven't seen The Decoy Bride.
You loved it. No, you loved it.
Oh, I loved The Decoy Bride.
Really cute romantic comedy.
Daniel is told by his boss and his dad that he should never let the book, which is the proofs for the week's issue, out of his sight. He confronts Wilhelmina and demands that she leaves the book with him overnight.
Yes. So the book is
And this is all when like Daniel was trying. It's funny when I watched it back, I was like, I remember Daniel was trying to prove that he belonged there.
Right, because he was a playboy.
He was a playboy. He's always sleeping with all his assistants, but he did want to do well. He didn't. It's that he didn't want his dad to be disappointed.
Yeah, it was all about that.
All about that.
All daddy issues because his dad favored his brother.
A whole thing.
So this show came out like right after The Devil Wears Prada.
Yes, that was
like right
around the same time.
And the book is a big part of Devil Wears Prada.
Right.
And remember, Justin knows what the book is. And Betty's like, how do you even know what the book is? And he's like, I watch Prada.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And that was the first. There's a few mentions where we mentioned.
I forgot how much that world was being explored. It wasn't just obviously on our show, but like Project Runway was a really big deal. There was this sort of fashion world that was something people seemed to be very interested in. I know I was. I loved fashion shows.
You did? Even before the show?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know anything about fashion.
I loved all of it. But loving it from afar is different than playing someone involved in it. So
and then suddenly being in these clothes and an actress named Natalie Whitman is the featured spread in this week's issue, and there is a debate about whether or not she will allow Mode to retouch her photos to make her appear skinnier. Yeah. She allowed them to retouch the photos, but has reservations, which she expresses to Betty. So this is it's supposed to be.
I remember it was like Kate Winslet. I remember she was the original inspiration.
Yes,
they were looking for an actress, and they kept
ripped from the headline.
Ripped from the headline. No, they were looking for a Kate Winslet type, and this was a discussion that was going on. I mean, a lot of the things on this show reflected discussions that were actually happening in the fashion world at that time.
And it was also kind of Bridget Jones's Diary, right?
Yes.
Because didn't Renee Zellweger gain weight?
Losing weight. Do we retouch? Do we not retouch?
Yeah. And this was Sarah Jones.
She's incredible.
The awesome actor who played
she's
this
incredible.
role. And she's still around. She was, I remember, again, I remember this episode so vividly.
Yeah.
These first, it's going to be so interesting as we continue to do this podcast when our memories start to fade because it's still so vivid. I mean, I remember like, I feel like I can see what's on the, on the walls on these sets.
But I sometimes see it and go, I don't even remember standing. Like I think that is later. Like after we did 88 episodes, I think altogether, it's like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that outfit. But I do think the beginning, because it was so new that we had, at that point, it was Eduardo was doing the costume. So Patricia Field did the pilot. Right?
Patricia Field was the costume designer for the pilot.
And then when we moved to LA, because Patricia was in New York, we had
go.
Eduardo. And he was so incredible. And
Lovely.
he really I feel like in episode 2 and episode 3 is like our identity, our fashion identity really started to be explored.
And he was you can sort of see, if you're watching on YouTube, we have a really beautiful drawing that he made of my character. I don't remember which episode that is, but oh, we just had the coolest
just like beautiful, colorful.
And they were tailored with, within an inch of their lives, these clothes that we wore.
It was like stepping into paintings. Like when we everything was, I mean, even the set. Like I was looking at pictures of the set. Yeah. It's another planet. Yeah. What did someone say? It was like Star Trek? Like what, how would you describe?
Gay Star Trek.
Gay Star Trek is what we used to call it. Yeah.
I think that's what Hilda says that at some point.
Does she?
This is like gay Star Trek. She comes when she's
very
like
accurate.
So funny.
Okay, so, and this is when we start to see in this episode, Wilhelmina is just out to get Daniel. She wants this guy gone. I love scheming Wilhelmina.
Yes, scheming with the mysterious lady.
That lady, like, in the basement? Where was she? At a spa?
She's in some
kind
confused. Some kind of
I don't think 88 episodes in, I ever figured out what that lady was doing in all those bandages.
It was also like, we never met that, like I never met that actor.
People would ask me, they're like, what's with the lady like in the basement? I said, I don't know. There were a lot of times I had no idea what was happening.
And then sometimes it felt like the writers didn't know.
Yes, I agree. I do think there was an element of like, I think some things are really happy accidents. I feel like my character in many ways was this really happy accident.
Yeah.
But and we just lucked out. We just lucked out. That the happy accidents we could sort of chalk up to being intentional after the fact.
Yeah. The tone of the show, like there was no shows like that. There was nobody was doing this kind of tone at this time.
No, and I don't think we knew, especially that early. And I think a lot of people don't realize how many times Michael and I were pulled aside and people said, like, we're not sure if this makes sense. And I think because the tone was so undefinable, that the fear was that we were a little too ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, I think we were,
yes,
but it was intentional, right? So it's the idea of how ridiculous is too ridiculous. And I remember Cherie in this episode to me pointing out my walk, because Amanda's walk was a thing.
Yeah.
A lot of it was because I couldn't actually walk in heels. So the overcompensating is true because I'd never worn heels in my life. So it started out as just, how can I convincingly walk down this hallway, turned into Amanda's walk.
Oh, and it's so funny.
But what it really was, and I've spoken to you about this, it really did come from a place of me, Becki, overcompensating to look like I'm going to sashay, but the sashay was just too big. It was so much sashay. And I remember, I think Cherie was like, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure this walk, it might be too much walk. And I was like, okay. And then I did it again the same way.
Yes,
but that even something like a walk, how ridiculous is too ridiculous? And where is that tipping point? And I think the show was really brave, but also that was a constant discussion. People don't realize well, if we're in a scene and you're doing something crazy over the top and so am I, and so where does it ground? And that's where we have, I think, America to thank, because she always, and she's in a wig and she's in braces, but she would bring it back.
So always real.
We were lucky though.
Yeah.
That we didn't have to be too worried about the real part. So we were allowed to just play and sort of be this sort of ridiculous.
Right. We didn't have to tell the story. They used to have a saying, cut to America, which they would say cut to America whenever they didn't know what the story was.
Right.
They'd say, it was like something they said in the editing room. Like if they were like, what's the story here? They'd say cut to America and her face will tell you the story.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, that's partially because she was the central character
but it's also
her story,
just how, I think for her, everything had to be so grounded and real. Yeah. And you and I had this privilege of sort of figuring out what that even meant.
Right.
What that meant.
And we were playing, she was playing a character that had to be open. And we were characters that had created personas to get through our lives.
Even our characters were playing characters. Yeah. And I think I lucked out. Well, no, this is where my, I think, lack of experience, I was trying so hard even to walk in heels. And somehow that became part of Amanda's character because Amanda was practicing in the mirror and Amanda was overcompensating. I think so much of Becki's overcompensating, I think people chalked that up to good acting. But really, I was just like, how do I walk like this and talk like this? So I had to practice. And I think Amanda's someone who practiced how to exist. I think, I do think in the morning she's like, we will walk. But it overlapped. I think a lot of my insecurities bled into Amanda's and it became more of a full-fledged character.
But that is, see, this is what, I mean, we've talked about this. You were innately talented. You were born to be, you were born to act. And just because you hadn't yet learned how to act, which is
I still don't know. Give me some classes. I really do. I still don't know.
But I think I had an acting teacher because I did learn how to act.
I know.
And I had an acting teacher at Juilliard.
Michael went to Juilliard.
But there was a day when somebody was doing a scene and the teacher was like, Michael Kahn was like, what's going on? You seem, why aren't you focused? Why aren't you, why are you having trouble? And they were like, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. And he said, well, don't you think this character's nervous in this moment right now? And it was it was so eye-opening because, basically, if there's a scene written, the characters are going through, there's a problem, they're probably nervous.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just use that?
Yeah, but it's easier said than done because you also want to seem like you belong. You seem like you know what you're doing.
Right.
And okay. Anyway, what else happened in this episode? Daniel leaves for the night on a hot date with Amanda, leaving the book on his desk. Let's just go back to the fact that I forgot Amanda and Daniel dated.
Oh, yeah.
They dated.
Oh, yeah. You were all over Eric Mabius.
I don't remember that was what I was supposed. That was my role. It wasn't the secretary. It was that I was.
You're also in your underwear.
I can't. I mean, I still can't believe.
Flashing him. That
wasn't this episode, was it? No, that was the pilot. We'll talk about that.
That image of you flashing him was in all the promos.
Yeah, my
grandparents.
So
hot.
Oh, thank you. But I was right out of college and had done Olive Garden commercials. And I was like, guys.
Also in your underwear.
In my underwear.
But what do you remember about doing the love scenes with Eric Mabius?
I remember.
So cute.
He's so cute.
Gosh.
It wasn't really like that. I think it was more that I was in my underwear on TV.
Sure.
And again, trying to act like that was a comfortable situation because for this character, she seemed like someone who'd probably be in her underwear flashing people all the time.
Right.
Wasn't really how I would wander around existing. So it was like, how do I act comfortably in a situation that's so inherently uncomfortable for me?
Yeah.
But again, it was just part of the like, okay, I'm gonna act like this is normal. That was sort of the whole, all of the experience.
You seem like someone who lives in their underwear. Like, it's so comfortable.
Not really. But
there was no intimacy coordinator.
There was no...
Not in 2006.
I will tell, Eric Mabius was a total gentleman.
Oh, good.
But it was all part of this, like, here we go. I have no idea. I always felt completely comfortable, completely taken care of. It was still an 8 o'clock show.
That's true.
Like, let's just be clear.
It was still
like,
a family show.
I think there was something about that, too. Like, this is a family show. So even when Amanda was risque, and even, like, when my kids, as they grow up, people ask, do they watch it? It's like, it's not as R-rated as
even
we
like
think.
Other shows on ABC, like Desperate Housewives or Grey's Anatomy that were really like
even though I was flashing people in my underwear, it's like the 8 p.m. version.
Totally.
Also, little side note, and this might be for the pilot discussion, when I flash him, the underwear I was wearing were much smaller, and that's actually someone had to go in and cover my butt with like a green digital marker.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that poor who had to sit there with a marker and color in my butt?
Some lucky guy. That's who? That's crazy.
Yeah, and if you look at my butt and watch that back, you can kind of tell. You know how you can kind of tell when something's...
It like moves?
Yeah, it's like a little... it's like a digital butt. So yeah, they had to make the coverage of my butt a little bit bigger.
I wonder why they didn't...
Show my butt? Or wear bigger underwear in the first place?
Wear bigger in the first place.
Maybe they weren't planning on that angle. Like maybe it was supposed to be a front flash and we got too much backside.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
I know, right? So... That was the modest shot that you got.
Do you remember how Eric Mabius whispered? He was the first actor I ever worked with.
He whispered a lot.
Who whispered. And
this is where my lack of training come in. I would always go, what?
Me too.
Oh, what? And
I was always like, I gotta get to the balcony, you know, and he's over there like,
yes.
And you watch the show, and it's great. I mean, he's so good.
But that speaks to, and we've talked about this. We were all so different in both our characters themselves, but our approach to acting. Eric was quiet. Alan Dale. By the way, I forgot how amazing he was until I started watching it again. He played Bradford Mead. You've got some people like the woman in the basement who talks like this and her eyes. And then you've got these very straight, like playing it very straight, very quiet. You needed all those flavors.
Yeah.
Because if we were all crazy, if we were all over the top, it would have floated away.
Totally.
And that's what was incredible, to be able to weave a real story with so much absurdity built in. I think.
And then like the Suarezes, who we haven't even gotten to yet, but they were this lively, vibrant family, but so real. They're so real.
Loving. That's what it was like when Tony, who played Poppy, anytime he talks to his hijas, he's always so loving and so grounded. And it's, so you see a family helping their daughter, Betty, navigate this crazy world. And I think that juxtaposition of the home and the work was incredible.
And Anna Ortiz, just for a second.
We need a whole 5 episodes to talk about Anna Ortiz.
She is so good.
She's
so hot.
Yeah.
She's so beautiful. And
just dialed in. Like, talk about tone. Like, she could get away with so much. Yeah. But it was always, to me, it's how I see you as well. Like, it came from a place of, I know exactly what I'm doing. And we were so, what an ensemble of humans.
Do you remember the telenovelas that they would watch on the show? I feel like Selma, that kind of goes away. But in the pilot, it's Selma.
Yeah, where I don't know if people know this, but Selma, one of our producers.
Selma Hayek.
Can I tell a story for a second?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sidebar. So Salma Hayek was one of our producers. And I had never been around famous people before. And Salma was always there in the beginning. And one day she was in the makeup trailer. And I said, I don't know why I said this. I said, does anyone need a ride home? I'm heading out. And Salma said, I do. And I was like, because I'm a terrible driver. You know I'm not a good driver, right? I'm not like the best driver. I'm not a terrible driver. But I'm not a confident driver.
Side streets.
Yeah, side streets. I only like to take rights, not left. So Selma says, yes, I'll get in your car. And I said, okay, I'll give you a ride home. Maybe she'd Ubered there. I don't know. But I was driving Selma Hayek home. I know. I was driving her home. And I said, okay, where do you want me to drop you? She goes, just pull over right here and walk me in. I was like, oh, okay. I walk her in. Penelope Cruz is standing there. At this point, I'm like, okay. She goes, come on in. At this point, my husband, Chris, he was expecting me because I lived pretty close to the studio. And he starts calling me. And I was like, oh, because at this point, he's like, I thought you were on your way home. And I answer it. And he goes, hey, Becki, where are you? And I go, I'm just at Penelope Cruz's house having a popsicle with Salma Hayek. He goes, what? I couldn't believe it. It sounded like I was lying. Do you ever try to sound like how do I make this sound normal? Say the words, I'm at Penelope Cruz's house having a popsicle with Salma Hayek, like you're a normal person. Go. Hey, Michael, what are you doing?
I'm just having a popsicle at Penelope Cruz's house.
With who?
Salma Hayek. What flavor?
Anyway, yeah. So I had to make that sound normal. And again, that was probably just a little blip of how bizarre life was for me at that moment. It was like incredible and weird and crazy. And on top of these amazing days of filming, I was dropping Salma Hayek off and having a popsicle with Penelope Cruz like that was a normal thing. Anyway, okay, back to work.
She was cool.
Did I ever tell you the popsicle story?
I ring the bell.
I'm sure. Did I start at that point? Were we calling each other, being like, "You won't believe this"?
Oh yeah, we would call.
Okay. Yeah. So we at that point had like the ability to go. Are we allowed to talk off the record about how crazy this all is? And right away, I think we could.
But it wasn't until the swag episode that we'll get to, which I think
is that the one where I saw your testicles?
That's
a spoiler alert. Oh my God.
That was Thanksgiving.
That's when we sang Dream Girls.
That was the Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah, okay. I saw his testicles.
You saw one of them.
Only one.
Only one popped out. No, swag was when they put us together. Remember Yoshi?
Yes, I do remember the Yoshi episode.
That, which is a whole other, which we'll get to. But that was when we started working together a lot.
Yes, we had more
show.
Like if we were at work, we were together.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, what happens with this book? The book is missing. It had something to do with Wilhelmina. Bradford sneaking around Faye Summers' apartment.
Oh yeah, this storyline with this guy, Stavros, or what was that guy's name?
No, Steve? You're making it into something fancy. I feel like his name was Steve.
Steve? We'll get it.
His name was Steve? Okay.
Who's
Stavros?
Stavros. Isn't that a guy? Stavros? He was the thug. His like henchman guy.
Steve. Who's Stavros? He's just a dude named Steve. Like, I think he was like Steve. We have too many exciting names in this episode. What are we going to call the henchman? Steve. Steve, the guy on the bench.
The guy on the bench.
Yeah, that was Steve.
When he comes up and he's like, I didn't know you speak. I don't know. I own the magazine.
Yes.
I
still don't know what that whole storyline was about. And I've watched the show a lot.
Well, yeah, I don't remember either.
What did Steve want?
Steve was doing his bidding, whatever he needed. But at this point,
was Bradford Mead trying to kill somebody?
Well, at this point, we think he killed Faye Summers.
Oh, the lady in the basement.
Well, we think the lady in the basement.
So we were
Faye
supposed
Summers.
to think that the lady in the basement's Faye Summers.
We think yes. I think at this point
Summers.
We're supposed to think that Faye Summers is still alive and in traction or whatever.
Okay.
And that Bradford Mead thought he killed her,
so that he could have control of the magazine.
Unclear.
Yeah, I'm just the why, but I don't think we need a why.
I don't think we need a why. I don't think we're supposed to know a why, and I don't think any of this is accurate anyway. I think it all.
And I think they also like at a certain point were like, we don't. This storyline's too complicated, and just dropped it.
They do kind of do
they
that.
Just like it. Just, Steve goes away. We don't know where he went, and that's fine. And we think his name was Stavros. So wait, at the end of the episode, Natalie decides she does want the unretouched images published after all. She spins it into a feel-good story. Betty's bunny is recovered, the most important thing. And Daniel keeps his job, and Bradford appears to destroy an incriminating music box. So before we go anywhere else, this bunny, though, how childish and mean is it to take someone's bunny, torture it, and send pictures?
And who did it?
Who did do it? Did I do it?
It's you.
I did that?
Well, we don't know.
Amanda would not hurt a bunny.
We don't know for sure.
No, Amanda would.
No, she would.
But to take pictures of it like in the toilet? Or did I make that up?
No, in the toilet.
Yeah.
Who put the bunny in the toilet? She goes, who put the bunny in the toilet? And then she's like, you can break my bunny, but you can't break my spirit.
So we think Amanda was just wandering around, had nothing else to do.
Well, she was.
But take pictures of a bunny that she tortured. So Amanda really didn't have a real job there.
No.
Because that's a lot. It takes a lot of time to torture a bunny, take the photos, send the photos. And let's also say this. How did the photos pop up? Like, how did they get to her without it being traced to Amanda? How did she send them?
Well, there were physical photos.
Oh, they were physical photos.
Yeah, they were physical photos that you hide in her desk and stuff.
Yeah, how much time and scheming does that take? A lot.
That's all she's doing. She's in the copy room.
She's like, today, how am I going to get Betty?
But Amanda had motive because Amanda was supposed to get that job.
Yes, that position. Okay.
That was supposed to be her. So that I remember back then, because the episode doesn't say who it was that tortured the bunny.
Right.
But I remember asking Silvio who was it.
Tortured the bunny, and what did he say?
He said it was you.
Silvio. Okay, wait, so we got through the episode.
Hold on, but we didn't talk about...
Didn't we?
About the whole book being missing thing. Like that, there's a whole adventure in Queens with Gina Gambaro.
Oh my God, Gina Gambaro. She takes the book. Gina was great.
She was so
We loved Gina
funny.
Gambaro.
Ava Gaudet.
Yeah, she was really great.
She was so funny.
She stole the book. Why was she? Because she was mad about Walter, Kevin Sussman, amazing actor. The plasma TV.
You broke my flat screen.
Their whole drama, but she finally got the book back and everything was all right.
She was so
and
good.
So the book and the bunny came back.
The book, well, and then how does she find out? Mark ends up I got the book back because...
I watched this last night and I still don't remember.
I remember. What was it? I got the book back. We find, because of because of the driver. So there's a driver bringing Betty back to work because she's got the book and she wasn't supposed to. So Betty brings the book home.
Yes.
Everyone freaks out because she's not supposed to bring the book home. So Daniel sends a car for her, and the driver of the car, of course she doesn't have the book, and she's sitting in the back of the The driver of the car overhears that she doesn't have the book and texts Wilhelmina. Texts her, Betty lost the book, and so that's how we know, Wilhelmina and Mark know that.
This is very clear.
Well,
you know what, Michael? Thank you for clearing up where the book went.
These stories, though, it's so amazing to look at these. Like, there's so much story.
So much story.
Every single act break, which is like
a mystery. It's like a mystery that they need to solve. And I do think, looking back, like maybe there were a lot of loose ends, or like, I don't know how I'm going to tie that one up. I think there were a lot of things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but they do have an amazing... the writers did an amazing...
job.
Every act break is a cliffhanger. And there was still... I feel like the show always did, but this tone, going back to the idea of no other show is doing this, Silvio really was taking a page very intentionally from the telenovela style.
Right.
Which is like, you see the telenovela on TV in the Suarez house, but like the show... having the mysterious lady, having this high camp, having violence and murder and intrigue. That was all taking a page from the telenovela.
Mm-hmm. And at the time, I didn't know another show that was doing that.
Nobody else was doing that.
So we benefited from this over-the-top style where you could get away with a lot more.
Yeah.
Speaking of, can we talk about some of our top looks from this episode? I want to talk about your velvet orange burgundy tracksuit. Tell me about that. Do you remember it?
Oh,
absolutely. Do you remember wearing it?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it was this great, and this was a great subtlety. I mean, it wasn't subtle at all, but the subtlety was...
I'm sorry, what was that?
That Mark went to Queens to get the book.
And wore a tracksuit?
And he dressed...
I never thought of that.
That's why he's wearing that.
Because he thinks in Queens, one wears a tracksuit?
To fit it in Queens. And something that he could hide the book in.
Great example, though, of where, while misguided, Mark wanting to pay homage to Queens somehow, where he's like, I have to dress appropriately. And that even though so inappropriate, that was perfectly appropriate. And he had to hide the book. I never thought of that.
Yeah, he had to hide the book.
I had to wear...
and I was wearing some weird hat and glasses. And it's
that's where the hat and glasses started. I loved you in all the hat and glasses.
Coming in incognito.
Always. But incognito, your character playing incognito, and this happened over 88 episodes where you in disguise stood out so much that there would be like a hat and a cape. Like there were so many things.
Do you remember there's an episode where
Mark in disguise.
I dressed like her, like Wilhelmina?
Oh my God, I do. I remember the one where you were dressed like Elton John, but it wasn't on purpose, and I couldn't stop laughing in your face.
I'm playing keyboards.
You're playing the keyboard. You had yellow glasses on, and I just couldn't get a line out because I was laughing so hard. I was wearing, in this particular episode, overalls that were so high-waisted that they went up. It was like the most high-waisted something can be. These like black, it was like a dress overall thing. Very Amanda, though. Very the beginning of this like secretary, S&M, like, and
we don't see you. I don't think we see you in the donut at all. We called the
donut is the middle. Did we? I guess we called it that. I was like, I thought that's what it was called. The donut was the reception area.
So the circular desk where Amanda worked. We don't even see you there in this episode.
I don't think I really get. I don't settle into that, and I think until 4 or 5 episodes.
Well, the pilot,
because I'm often there. I'm in Daniel's bed half the time. The first couple episodes.
And the pilot, of course, are you the before?
Are You the Before?
That
I do
iconic Are You the
remember
Before?
when I was
The
even
photo
watching
shoot.
it. So in those first few episodes when I am Daniel's love interest and I'm home in bed with him, what was interesting is how to still be Amanda without all those clothes on. Because there was one scene where I'm getting out of the shower, so they wanted my hair wet, and I have a towel on. And suddenly I felt a lot more like Becki. Because I didn't have like the taped up boobs and the huge hair. And I remember very early on being so completely aware of this dichotomy of like, Amanda has so much extra hair and makeup and clothes, but I had to be Amanda.
Wow.
Just without all. Imagine if you had to be Marc right away and you took all the stuff away. It was like, I remember that feeling really interesting. I wondered if I was believable. And I remember going home to my husband being like, I didn't have all that extra help, right? When you have the huge, even heels. Suddenly I wasn't wearing heels and I was just with a towel with my hair kind of wet. Because I thought Amanda, I always thought, especially in the beginning, Amanda had they clipped in, I don't know how many other people's hair was in my hair.
And makeup,
So much. So suddenly they're saying you're out of the shower, so you can't have all that makeup on.
Right.
And it was interesting to go like, how do I still be Amanda? How do you do that? Okay, wait. What else do we want to know? There's so much. I think we're about to play a game.
Gina Gambaro's leopard print top.
Gina Gambaro in general.
I also love Gina Gambaro's house.
Everything, like the nuance and the detail and the authenticity. And this was just it was that alchemy of like the set design.
Mark Worthington,
like
our set designer.
The costumes, all of it worked together to be believable, even over the top, completely believable.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a lot of things had to work together for that to be believable. And Gina Gambaro is a great example. She was crazy over the top in so many ways, but I completely believed that she existed.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you want to play a game with me?
Yeah.
We're going to play a game, and it is called Two Truths.
You want to do that? I don't do that.
It's called Two Truths and a Lie.
Okay.
So I am going to tell you the truth about two things, but I'm also going to tell you a lie.
Do you lie? Are you a liar?
No, I'm a terrible liar.
Yeah, me too. I can't
lie. I actually physically cannot.
I can't lie, and it's also like I always say, tell the truth. It's the easiest thing to remember.
Oh, I like that.
Because it's true.
It's true.
Once you start thinking, like, okay, let's say this lie. There's a little white lie. It's like, wait,
no.
And I got to remember that. And it's like,
yeah.
And I get it.
Do you think Marc and Amanda lied to each other?
To each other?
Yeah. Sometimes, but they'd forgive each other for it.
Yeah.
Do you remember there was a line that nobody ever addressed about a pregnancy scare that we had?
With each other?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I yelled down the hallway and you're like, remember that pregnancy scare, or the fake pregnancy scare? And I go, no, that wasn't a fake pregnancy scare. That was a real one, you idiot. Was the implication that it was me?
Had sex?
I think so. I think so. And that was, again, one of those like references that was never addressed again. I thought that was that we had.
I love it.
I think
one
so.
night, like 2 bottles of wine.
They're like, sure, why
Let's
not?
just try it.
Yeah. Okay, wait. So I'm going to get into it. There's 2 truths and a lie about this episode. I'm going to read you 3 things.
Okay.
Which of these is a lie? Don't look at the cards because it probably has the answer. Okay. Number 1, in this episode, Marc gives Wilhelmina a pedicure. Don't answer this. Wait to hear all 3 and then tell me which are true. A priest is slapped. Amanda uses the word chimichurri. Which of those is a lie?
I think it's, what was the first one?
Marc gives Wilhelmina a pedicure.
I think it's a foot rub, not a pedicure. I'm going to go with A as the lie.
Wrong. Amanda did not use the word chimichurri. She used the word chimichurro. So you got that completely wrong. And you did give her a pedicure. You were just in that scene, it was the foot rub part of the pedicure.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
Do you
know how
jealous
jealous my dad was that I gave Vanessa Williams a foot rub?
Was he really?
I don't know. My dad always had the hots for Vanessa.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah. When he found out that I was working with Vanessa Williams,
Your parents
he was like,
were amazing. I
he
love
was
your
like,
parents, Paul and Mary. I love you. I love you, Paul and Mary.
Are you listening, Paul and Mary?
They are.
My dad was like, she's the most beautiful woman in the world.
Oh.
Yeah. And then they got to meet her.
Oh.
And she's so, like they saw her.
She's Vanessa all the time. We went to her concert. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't we go with your parents? I know we went with my grandma.
In New Jersey.
Yeah, we took my grandma.
No, my parents weren't there for that. But I took my parents to see her on Broadway, and she came to see Spamalot. I saw her at the party. She's like, I saw your parents.
Yeah, she's just amazing.
She's the greatest.
We love Vanessa.
She is currently
Doing Devil Wears Prada in London, right?
Playing Miranda Priestley, back to her fashion editor roots.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I know. She's the greatest.
Okay, round 2. Betty's bunny gets tortured pretty viciously in this episode. Which statement is a lie? Now, you've got the first one wrong. So let's just focus a little more here, Michael.
Okay.
Number 1, the bunny gets put in the toilet. Number 2, the bunny gets put in a toaster oven. Number 3, the bunny gets bound and gagged.
The toaster oven is the lie.
Answer. You're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, good.
Look on
Okay,
your
good.
face.
No, because I was like,
You couldn't figure out.
I was like, you are absolutely right. And I knew that too. I knew that we didn't put the bunny in the toaster.
No toaster.
There was no toaster for this bunny. Okay,
Toilet.
number 3.
Who put the bunny in the toilet? You can break my... Oh, God, it's
You
so
can
funny.
break my spirit. What did she say?
She can't break my spirit. She's so
Funny.
good.
She's so earnest.
She's so good.
Okay, number 3. Focus, Michael. You're 1 for 1, and this will be the tiebreaker. In this episode, Betty and Walter reminisce about an early date. Aw. Which statement is a lie? Number 1, they met at a shipping and receiving dock. Number 2, Walter was holding a box of AAA batteries. And number 3, Betty said, "Careful, we're going to cause a spark."
I can see her little mouth saying spark.
Me too.
Because she had that little...
With the little braces,
The braces
yeah.
made her mouth talk funny. It's the first one. The first one's the lie. That's shipping and receiving dock.
No. Michael, Walter was not holding a box of AAA batteries. He was holding
9 volt?
9 volts. Oh my gosh.
That was sneaky. Okay,
It was sneaky, but you lost 2 out of 3. So
But I got so much detail. I remembered so much detail about it. I remembered the way her mouth moved.
You did. You remembered a lot, but I think you could work a little harder.
We got to shout out to Kevin Sussman, who
He's
plays Walter.
He's always incredible. Betty.
What a great actor.
Betty.
So everything he does is funny.
Everything. He can't not be funny.
He's so funny.
Okay, I have one last question for you. We learned a surprising fact about some of the characters in this episode. Which of the following is a lie? Number 1, Bradford speaks German. Number 2, Amanda knows about samurai ritual suicide. Number 3, Daniel wears dress shoes that are not made in America.
Wait. He does not speak German.
You got that one right. You're 2 for 2. He doesn't speak German. He does own a German language paper.
I own the paper. That's what he says.
He's
like,
great. I feel like Allendale, I went back
Stavros.
and was like, this guy's great.
Allendale's terrific.
He's a wonderful actor and human. And
it's also, he's from New Zealand, if I remember correctly.
yeah, I think so.
And his American accent's terrific.
He does have a very good
sounds great.
accent.
It's time for fan questions. We love our fans. Every
Love.
week, we will respond to a message from one of our listeners asking for advice or sharing a dirty secret or wanting answers to specific questions about something from their life.
Exciting.
It's really cool, I think.
I think it's great. It's my favorite part, actually.
So if you have something that you want to share, you can message us. You can email us, stilluglypodcast@gmail.com, stilluglypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call us on the phone. Dial up.
That's like old-fashioned.
Dial us up.
It's old school.
On your landline.
Landline.
347-480-1821. 347-480-1821. Today, we have a fan asking for advice, and we have her on screen. So if you're watching on YouTube, let's get Sherry on the screen and see if we can help her out. Sherry?
Sherry.
Well, hi.
We're just admiring you top to bottom.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
I
for
love you guys so
asking
much.
us a fan question. What is your question for us today? We can't wait to answer.
So, I guess I have a question. It's more of like advice, given that, so I'm new. Ugly Betty for me is like a huge thing in the last couple of years. I missed it when it was on TV because we were touring a lot when I was growing up. And
You were also, let's be honest, about 2 years old.
Yeah, you were too young.
You were not able to talk yet. Yes.
no, I'm 40 years old. I'm not a spring chicken.
You look amazing.
You look great, Sherry.
Thank you, guys.
You do.
Thank
You actually look like a spring chicken.
Yes, I actually thought you were a chicken.
Thank you. Well, I have 5 kids, and I always say that I don't have time to age because they don't allow me to. So that's my joke that I say to everybody.
5 kids, Becki.
I have 5 kids.
You win. I only have 4, Sherry. Now I
you
feel
only
terrible
have
about
4.
myself.
Okay, only have 4. That is so many kids. Okay.
I know. How do we fit them in a car? I have no idea. I'm still learning. You're going to teach me.
We have a huge car. Anyway, so I watched it a couple years ago, and I loved it. I love Marc and Amanda. You guys made the show for me. It was just such a fun show. Anyway, so that show has a lot of people lying out the wazoo. Obviously, people are lying left and right in that series. So So I went through something recently in the last few years. Quick backstory to Adventures in Lying with Sherry. I grew up in East Texas, Bible Belt. If you lied, you're basically going to go live in the darkest corner of hell with the Dark Lord. So, it was something you don't do. So I remember the first time I ever lied, I was like 5. And I lied about going to a friend's house down the street, and I got in trouble. And I have no memory of lying from age like 5 or 6 to about 3 years ago. Whenever COVID was happening, everyone was melting down, falling apart at the seams. I was suffering from postpartum depression. My mom was dying. So much was falling apart in my life for the first time, really. And so my husband and I were like, we should, just for fun, let's get some beers. And I had never drank because, again, drinking was the devil. You grow up in church, so don't drink, don't anything like that. So I never drank until about 3 years ago. And we were like, trying to get through COVID as musicians. We had no way to make money. We were struggling. Everyone was distraught. So pretty quickly, my husband realized for me, drinking was not something that was working. I would drink very little and black out, get hurt, just the horrible things that would happen to me. And so he was like, let's just be sober. And I was like, yeah, you're right. We should be sober. Not. So I basically for the next 3 years lied about that I was sober. And my poor husband is so sweet, and he's so he'll believe anything. So I was able to convince him that I wasn't drinking for years. I would just play it off as other things, I took too much melatonin, or just all these other anything I could put it on. And this lie just got bigger and bigger and bigger. So over Thanksgiving, I told my husband this. He's amazing. He's like, it's okay. We'll get you help. It's all over. I love you. Doesn't matter. But I have not been able to even fathom a world where I can go about my life not just thinking about how horrible of a person I am. And I just want some advice, because I can ask my friends and family, and they're like, no, you're so sweet. We love you. It's okay. But those are my friends. They're going to tell me that.
Okay, I go right to this. You came clean, right?
Yes,
You told this husband, first of all, sounds like he loves you. He loves all versions of you. You came clean. So when are you allowed to say, if he accepts you, when can you accept you? Look how fabulous and sparkly you are. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also with everything you were describing, postpartum, pandemic, these are really serious things.
Intense.
And you can chalk them up to lies here and there, but those sound like very serious things that I feel like you need to, I'm no expert, but maybe just be nicer to you, right? It doesn't matter who around you is forgiving you or not forgiving you. It doesn't sound like you're ready to forgive yourself.
And it doesn't sound like anybody around you isn't forgiving you.
No, it sounds like you've got some open, loving people, and kids are really
Everyone's
forgiving.
great.
But I also think, you said you didn't lie from the age of 5 until the age of 37.
Yeah.
Most people spend a lot of that time lying.
So you need to practice your white lies. It'll make
Right? Get some of it out of my system.
Maybe.
In
It
the
just
white lie area.
Yeah, and
that's a good point.
And look,
thank you. That's really sweet. And I you're right. See, it sounds really simple, but it's true. Looking
nothing
at
ever
myself
is
through their
simple.
eyes.
Yeah, through their eyes, but also the fact they're even asking shows that you're exploring a version of the truth where you get to accept yourself the way people around you are accepting you. Just be good to yourself. You're so sparkly and beautiful. And
thank you guys.
Well, thank you so much for calling.
Yes,
and,
thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day. And have a
Sherry.
nice day.
Oh,
Sherry.
so lovely.
Oh my gosh, so lovely.
Really sweet.
This is why we love the fan stuff, because we can talk all day long, and then a fan and this is like someone going through stuff, and we're not experts, but
No, not at all.
we know nothing, but it sounds like
But it's like what you said, she kind of already knew.
if you're asking. Usually if I'm asking a question that's I have
Yeah.
something to ask, you kind of know that you're on your way to the answer.
Yeah.
But that was so fun. I love fan questions. Please keep calling in, writing in, all of it. And what we get to do, which is one of my favorite parts of the day, say something nice about each other. Okay.
You go first. Say something nice about me, Becki.
I love you very much. I think you're very handsome, and you get more handsome with age.
Really?
I do. I think so. You were a real troll when we first met.
It's wild watching this show back and seeing how young we were.
Very young.
You look exactly the same. I'm getting better looking, but you are still a beautiful 23-year-old.
Thank you so much.
Or however old you were when we did this. My compliment for you is that you have some great bracelets on right now.
Thank you so much. I'm known to wear lots of things at once because I don't have time to take them off and put them back on.
Is that why?
Yeah.
It's not a choice?
No. Chris calls me Cleopatra. I go to sleep with all my jewelry on. And I jingle everywhere I go. Yeah. Not a choice. Not a choice.
You don't have time to take your jewelry out before bed because you're just so exhausted by the time you're there.
It's too complicated.
4 kids, that's one less than Sherry.
Am I keeping you awake? Time to nap.
Gosh. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Still Ugly is filmed at Rabbit Grin Studios.
Produced by Rabbit Grin Productions.
Music by the one and only Jeff Beal.
Executive produced by Rob Hollis, Jeff Porter, Natalie Hollis.
Creative producer Jesse Thurston.
Video edit and mix master by Chris Fowler.